let's talk about sections 11 through 16 really quickly here, because that claims, it starts out factual background, and then claims that these unknown defendants, they had no duties. It says they had consideration, blah, 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 freely communicate, that they had contractual obligations due to the plaintiff to keep confidential and private information private, that they failed to inform the plaintiff. But here's the thing. Vanzan had no contract. Vanzan had no contract, unless Blake is admitting that she is Vanzan and she's saying that she was under contract with these people. The only way for Vanzan to be factually based or legally binding, I guess is the word I'm looking for, the only way for it to stand up on its own, if we identify that Vanzan is Blake. If it's not Blake, none of the subpoena is true. None of the subpoena is true if we do not identify Blake as being Vanzan. Because Vanzan had no contract with Wayfarer, no contract with Baldoni, no contract with anyone at Wayfarer, had no business relationship, there was no disclosed services, there was no evidence that they had ever worked together. So how can they claim that there's oral or written agreements? How can they claim that there were duties of good faith and loyalty or consideration provided due to the defendants? You can't claim duties from imaginary contracts. You can't claim duties from unnamed people. You can't claim all of this from unspecified agreements. That's not a thing. This isn't a legal thing. Plaintiff provided consideration. That phrase means that Vanzan paid these people. I bet you Steve Sarowitz is like, write the check. Where's my check? Plaintiff provided consideration means Vanzan paid these people or gave them something of value in exchange for contractual promises. But how can you pay people if you don't know who they are? How can you enforce confidentiality with people whose names you don't even know? It's essentially saying these are the people that we intend to accuse. We're just not going to name them right now. Allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion. And it references August, but then why do we have emails from July? Why do we have text messages from July? And I know it says on or about, but again, just says August of 2024. But again, the subpoena wasn't filed until September 27th. And it says again that Doe's disclosed Vanzan's confidential information, but Vanzan had no business operations. It had no employees. There was nothing listed for confidential materials. There was no contracts that we know of with Vanzan. There was no communications with Vanzan. There's no Vanzan email. Nothing with It Ends With Us with Vanzan prior to this. No involvement with Wayfarer. And to our knowledge, no involvement in the film industry. Not unless we're using Vanzan to backfill information, to cover past doings, which essentially is what I'm getting out of all of this. So by all I can see, this is really admission in and of itself that Vanzan is Blake. That's the only way that this can be legally possible, in my opinion. And I guess, I don't know, what does that mean for Manat? Because it opens that Manat knew about this, that Manat was involved.